All right, today on this Mastering Warhammer 40k video, we're going to be talking about why you are reanimating incorrectly. So whether you play Necrons primarily, or there are also other armies that reanimate as well, we're going to be going over today some of the top reanimation tricks that you can do to not gotcha your opponent, but really help you maximize your value specifically out of your Necron warriors. All right, so if that's something that interests you, you're going to want to stick around because we're going to be going through a lot of tricks today. I'm pretty excited about it, and I think there are going to be a lot of aha moments if you stick around throughout this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is specifically, again, going to be talking about Necron warriors. Jason and I were on a interview last week. If you didn't get a chance to watch that, I would highly recommend it, where we touch on a couple of these things, but I did want to make a separate video and talk about this a little bit more in depth. So we have a tipping point layout today with layout 1. Keep it very basic, keep it very simple to make it more easy to understand. And then I have the icons on the right-hand side that are going to interact with this unit today. So we have our Catacomb Command Barge, we have our Crypto Thralls, we have our Ghost Ark, we have our characters, which is the Oricon and the Overlord, a Reanimator, and then we have our Warriors. So you can see that there is a lot going on with this combo here, and why for a beginner type player, they're not going to really catch on to this, at surface level, which is why I think this is going to be a very valuable video for you today if you're just getting into Necrons or something that reanimates. There's going to be a lot of tricks. So let's get into it here. So first, I'm right out the gate. Let's just talk about deployment and deploying a unit like this. So the main synergies that are working here is the Ghost Ark, which the Ghost Ark is extremely powerful with this unit because of the fact that it works specifically with Necron warriors, and you can use it per turn per Necron warrior unit. So if you're running 2 blocks of 20, or a block of 20 and a block of 10, if your unit shoots at the Necron warriors and they lose a wound, it is not a model, it is a wound. So if you, in this case, have Crypto Thralls in a Necron unit, and that Crypto Thrall loses a wound from an attack, that could be a melee attack or a shooting attack, you can use the Ghost Ark's ability, which is activating your reanimation protocols. Now, what helps synergize this even more is the fact that you're going to have a Reanimator, okay? Now, the Reanimator, as probably a lot of you know, is any Necron warrior unit, any Necron unit within 3 inches is going to get an extra D3 on the reanimation protocols. So now, every time you use that Ghost Ark ability, instead of getting D3 models back, you're getting 2D3 models back. And the added benefit is that warriors' innate ability is they get to re-roll their reanimation protocols. So it helps you average out if you get a bad roll, and also especially if you use a Resorb once per game. We've all been there where you roll that 1 on the Resorb and you're like, ah. And so having the warriors being able to re-roll that is extremely valuable to make sure you don't get burned on that. Or, I mean, you still could roll a 1 into a 1. We've all been there too, but it helps. Less feels bad, right? So going into more of the synergy here, we're going to have the Crypto Thralls. Personally, I love the Crypto Thralls specifically for how I'm wanting to play this unit. I think it's the way that I have the list designed right now. The Crypto Thralls, they provide a couple benefits. One, it's easier to trigger the Ghost Ark ability if you just lose a wound. The other valuable thing is it overall makes it more durable, so you're adding 6 more wounds to the unit, and it gives it a 3+ save if you're allocating wounds to the Crypto Thrall specifically, which is extremely valuable for, if they have a lot of 1 damage guns and they're firing into them and saving on 3s instead of 4 at high volume is it's good. It's really good. So Crypto Thralls are in there. We have our warriors set up. Okay, so we have our blob here You know, it's kind of like bring it around, and then we have, you know, I'm going to have a couple single warriors here because it's going to help demonstrate some of these tricks. Okay. And, you know, they would be deployed something like that. And similar to what we talked about last week, you're going to have your characters back here. Now, the specific reason why we're having the characters back here is, again, because of precision. Against good opponents, what they're going to be looking to do is they're going to want to try to take out your synergies, because if you take out the synergies, then the unit is significantly less powerful. All right. So by having these units behind the wall, it prevents them from using the epic challenge stratagem or any sort of precision, because precision requires lines of sight. They're behind a wall. Your opponent's not going to be able to see the character. Therefore, they're not able to precision them out. Okay. So characters are going to be behind the wall. As close as possible, so that way, if your opponent connects with them, it still gives them the flexibility potentially, or to move up and potentially get a charge off and use their melee punch, because Oricon he hits pretty hard. So, and then lastly, we're gonna have a Catacomb Command Barge back here. Okay, so again, anything within 6 inches of a Catacomb Command Barge is gonna have +1 OC. So the warriors go from 2 OC to 3 OC, and then it also has a res orbit as well that you can use at the end of any phase. Okay, so a lot of auras going on right here. Okay, a lot of synergies, and we're really wanting to make sure this stuff is protected. Okay, so now let's go into the power of the warriors. All right, so and then also we'd have like a Luminor Xeris, right? So he's around somewhere giving them like the armor contempt. Like there's just so much going on. Okay. So the biggest thing with the warriors is that you're stacking all these buffs to make them extremely durable. You want to get on points, right? And you want to force your opponent to shoot at the warriors. Like you want them to shoot the warriors. They're -1 to hit. They're 4-up invul. They're armor contempt. Like they are just super, super annoying to get rid of. I cannot stress this enough. I have played this unit with this exact build like 12, 15 matches now, and they still have not died once. Now, I've definitely lost games, but this just shows you the power of this brick if you play it correctly. Okay, so turn 1, let's say I go first. They move 11 inches. So it is going to give you just enough movement to bring what I like to do first with this unit, because it's 20 models, and I will say this unit does take a lot of practice, okay? And you have to be very transparent with your opponent as far as moving this unit, because it could get really weird really fast because there's a lot of things going on. So what helps simplify it for me, and I think for my opponents, I'm like, hey, I just clarify before I move them, like, hey, I'm going to just move the ends of the warriors first where I need to bow tie. And when we say bow tie, we're talking about unit coherency, okay? So any unit that is over 7 models, 7 or more, they have to create a triangle, or they have to be within what it looks like here is they have to be 3 models within 2 inches of each other, okay? So you can see that here where we're creating this like triangle, or some opponents will call it a bow tie, okay? So let me bring this down there. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm moving those units to create the bow tie here, okay? And then we're also going to move warriors right here, okay? And we're going to bow tie. All right, so let me just copy this. All right, so the warriors expand out, and the important note of this is that's the max that they can go, so it simplifies things. So I know that I cannot move a warrior farther than this point and farther than this point. So your opponent knows that. They're like, all right, those are the lines, makes it a little bit easier. And then to simplify things, I'm like, okay, I know I want the crypto thralls in cover, because again, if you allocate wounds on a model and you're taking a cover save, they have to be in cover, okay? So that could mean 2 things. You could put them behind here, or you could put them behind the wall just to make sure. But most of the time, turn 1, if they're like here, that's probably a safe bet. And then you're moving your characters up against the wall here, and then you have the rest of the warriors kind of strung out like here, right? And then you bow tie here at the end. It looks something like that, okay? So essentially, you're creating this triangle here of warriors, okay? And it's all leading back to all the auras over here, okay? Now you're like, okay, why are we setting it up like this? Okay, and I'm going to go over through a couple different things here. Okay, so turn one, it puts your opponent in a position where, and the thing is you have enough OC where you could theoretically, let me just make this a better example. Like you could really, because they move so far, I mean, you could put like 12 OC on there, right? And then like, let's say I have a Scorpec Lord and like something else over here, okay? So what you do is, or what you are doing is you're telling your opponent like, hey, you got to shoot at the warriors, otherwise I'm scoring primary, or you better put something on these points, otherwise I'm scoring primary. So the best part about this is your opponent can move up, and they're like, well, crap, like, I got to deal with these warriors. Like, I can't afford to have them there. Like, I could shoot at them, or I could charge them. And this creates a lot of situations because they are swung out so far, each model you're just removing essentially 2 inches. Like, you're stringing them out, okay? So they're all spaced. Let me delete this so I can, like, symbolize this a little bit more here, because this is a pretty important, okay? So the crypto thralls, let's just say they're back there. Okay. Okay. All right. So what happens is your opponent, let's say your opponent, they shift over some resources right here, right? And they're like, all right, screw this, man. We're getting you off this point. I'm taking it. I want the middle. I drew area denial. It's mine. All right. A couple things you can do. So they shoot. You're like, okay, cool. All right, what I'm going to do, a typical player, they just might start pulling, okay, randomly, but a beginner player, but exposing what this unit can do, right? Because they're like, you take these models off, okay? So I'm going to take this warrior off. I'm going to take this warrior off. Take these all off right here, okay? This is, take these off, take this off, okay? They killed all those warriors. Okay, let's say they killed the crypto thralls too. They shot a lot, and you're like, "Yo, man, you're totally out of coherency. What are you doing, man?" So here's another thing that a lot of beginner players, they mess up. Coherency. There are a couple rules interacting with this. So the first, coherency is checked in at the end of the turn. Okay, so there is nothing in the rules that state you can't pull models out of unit coherency, meaning there could be a gap. But any models that are not within unit coherency will die at the end of the turn, okay? Now, where this gets tricky is you have to make sure that you can res enough models to get back into unit coherency at the end of the turn. And you know you'll be able to do that because you have so many ways to reanimate. You can reanimate off the Ghost Arc, which is 2d3. You can reanimate from the Strat, which is going to be 2d3 plus 1 because they're being led by a character. And then you can also reanimate from the res orb at the end of the turn. Okay, so there's 3 different ways that you can res this unit for a lot of models. Okay, so what usually ends up happening is they shoot here, right? And then what do you think happens? I'm like, okay, I'm going to use my Ghost Arc ability. Oh, I get 4 models back. Boom, right here. Boom, right here. Right? Boom, right here. Because I'm reanimating off coherency of this model. Okay? So what ends up happening is now, and then let's say I put another one so I made sure I had coherency right here. So now what just happened? We gave them the center for right now, but I all of a sudden went from 3 OC to 12 OC on this objective during my opponent's turn before I score primary on my next turn. And then I also brought this warrior unit back within unit coherency. Okay, which is really, so now all of a sudden I'm not losing any models. Okay, and then it also prevents any other shooting happening because now let's say they maybe had let's say they had one more tank here and they're like, oh man, I really wanted to like fire here, but now they don't have line of sight because they can't see anymore. So there is a lot of advantages to doing that. It's almost like you're getting like a free react move in the shooting phase with these reanimation tricks. And the reason why it can work so well, or like beginner players, what you might see is they might put these warriors a lot closer together. And the problem is that when they start killing models, a lot of times if I made a mistake and I left just that one warrior there, it screws up the whole plan because of the fact that now they have line of sight, they can shoot again, that sort of thing. So placement is very, very important. This takes a lot of practice. This is one of those videos that I feel like you guys could just watch like over and over just to try to get it down and practice this, because it's not easy. This is not an easy thing to like get down, and there's a lot of different situations to come up that will change how you want to, which way you want to go or another. But this is some things that you can do with this unit. Okay, so that's the first one. We can pull from one side, reanimate on another, and potentially steal primary that way. Okay, there's other tricks that we can do. Okay, so let's just say that we don't want a triangle. Okay, let's just say we really want to hold this center objective, and we have like other units that want to go up here and take this objective, right? So turn one, we're going to move these warriors up, right? But instead, we're going to move a lot more of them. They're going to go like all the way up here. We're going to get a couple like on the point, right? And then let's say like, yeah, some warriors, they go up here. They go up here. Okay. We're going to get our nice like bow tie right there, right? And then let's say we have like our crypto thralls back here. And then the rest of the unit is just kind of like strung out, 2 inches, like boom, 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 back here. Okay. So another trick that you can do, your opponent shifts up, right? These resources, and they're like, oh man. And by the way, these warriors, they're lined 1 inch away from the wall. So either they have to like come all the way around, or they have to come like all the way around this way to go interact with these warriors. So what happens is they're like, well, crap, you have like 9 OC on there. And if I shoot at these warriors, like you're just going to kill them and then put more on the point. Or let's say like you put, let's just make this a better example. Let's say there's actually a few more on the point. I'm going to explain why here. Okay. So let's say there's like 5 on the point. Okay. And then you have the rest of these that are like lining the wall. All right. So the opponent shoots their tanks, could be anything. Simple terms, they clear off these warriors. Okay? Same type of idea. Now, they don't have line of sight. They don't have anything to charge, because now the units have to go all the way around, and that's probably like a 12-inch charge. They have to go all the way around this way, right? And they're like, well, crap, I can't shoot at them. I can't even get on the point. And then what's going to happen? At the end of your turn, at the end of the phase, or the beginning of the phase during your reanimation protocols, you're going to be healing 2d3. So on an average roll, you're going to get 4 warriors back. And because they're behind the wall, your opponent couldn't shoot at them, but they're within 2 inches for unit coherency, and then they get back on the objective, and you hold it for primary. And just those 2 warriors, that's 6 OC. So that's also another trick that you can do, is reanimating behind a wall, which is extremely strong, especially like on WTC boards or something that's a little bit more dense. There is a lot of options for that. And then I'd say one of the last tricks that I want to go over is what we touched on last week in the interview, is you can potentially reanimate for extra movement. Okay, so if you're running like the Royal Warden is a really good example. I think that's probably the best example, where you're like falling back, and he was talking about, which I thought was really cool. He was talking about playing like the mini game of like, hey, I'm trying to get this block of warriors to my opponent's deployment zone by turn 4 or 5. Now, again, there's a lot of different ways that he could pull this off and do this, but primarily what he means by that, or talking about this, is we're essentially leapfrogging the unit. Okay, so what ends up happening is 20 warriors can string out really far, like really far. I mean, if you take in a unit coherency and they're all within 2 inches, I mean, that unit could be like 40 inches long potentially. I mean, or something crazy like that. I mean, it's crazy how much space they can take up. So what ends up happening is he's got you have warriors here, right? And they're strung out, and they're back here. At least, like, let's say this is like by turn 2. Your opponent comes in, let's say they didn't clear him off, they charge in, he clears some guys off, and you're like, oh crap. Okay, so he, being a smart player, you pull from back here, okay? And you still keep enough where you can maintain, the key thing is maintaining unit coherency by the end of the turn, and making sure that you still have guys within the auras here to get the benefits, okay? So what ends up happening is they kill that in melee, okay? Then during your turn, you're going to reanimate, right? So let's say the Ghost Arc at the end of the turn gets a melee attack. He reanimates models here, okay? Because these are all during different phases, and you can only reanimate off of existing models, not models that were on in the battlefield. So you cannot do this, right? So if you have a model here, you can't put a warrior here and a warrior here. It doesn't work like that because this model didn't exist. It's got to be off an existing model. Very easy thing for new players to screw up. So you can't do that. So let's just say he killed those models. I'm going to duplicate some more here to show this example. So we have warriors right here right now, okay? So what ends up happening is at the end of the phase, he's like, all right, I'm going to use the Ghost Arc's ability. I'm going to reanimate 2 models right here. Okay. And then he's like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm gonna pop my Resorb. Pop my Resorb. Okay. I'm going to bring back, the other ones that you killed. Now these models still exist, right? So I'll put them right here. Okay. Then he's like, oh man, I also reanimated at the start of my phase, at the start of my turn. What do you think he's going to do? Gonna put warriors right here. So he hasn't even moved yet. He hasn't even moved yet. And the warriors were right here. Now they're right here. He just gained like 8 inches by not even doing anything. So what do you think he's going to do during his turn? He's going to fall back because he has the Royal Warden, right? He's going to move 5 inches. Now all of a sudden, he literally has a warrior in his opponent's backfield just by the fallback, right? So all this is moving up. And then because you have the Royal Warden, you can also charge. And then he just charges in and then boom. It just creates this mess, right? And he's just got stuff everywhere. And he's tagging the point, and that's what you do there. So you can also do these little leapfrog mechanics, which are really cool as well. So yeah, in a nutshell, this is mastering some reanimation strategies. I hope you found this video helpful and took away a couple things. I feel like this is in a nutshell what you can do with reanimation and a lot of the tricks you can play. And I would be the first to say this is not an easy thing to master. So do not get frustrated with yourself if you feel like you misplayed it. It just takes practice and knowing what to look out for. And, again, it's going to be very board dependent and matchup dependent, but this is the power of some of these bigger units, especially in sizes of 20 and ones that can reanimate. There are just a lot of really cool tricks you can do throughout the game to really maximize this unit. So anyways, if you stuck around this long, I appreciate you watching. And until the next one, peace.